Hello, what's happening, everybody? This is John from the Endless Celts Podcast, and you're watching episode 101. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Francis and Ross. Boys, how are you doing?
All
Yeah,
good, John.
all good.
A bit more sober than Friday night.
I think we're on a better state than we were Friday night. You may notice as well that there's no Stephen this time. I'm taking the hosting seat. Stephen unfortunately had to attend a funeral today, so my great uncle Sammy, who passed recently, rest in peace, Sammy. Obviously, so Stephen's over in Ireland, so he was attending that. So I've taken the reins, and we'll be obviously discussing the 3-0 victory over Dundee United in the Scottish Cup. So I'll just get straight into things, lads. Before we go into too much detail about the game itself, try to hear your initial thoughts. Obviously, when the lineup was announced, the team sheet was put out. What was your initial thoughts, Francis?
Well, it's one of the ones. Just you weren't surprised that you hadn't second guessed Ange again and got the squad wrong. But one obviously the glaring standout was the omissions of Jota and Abada for the squad. But what I liked more about them not being like it was the fact that nothing was in the media about it. So it was like no sort of any leaks or anything like that. Like people out. It was just everything seemed to be kept under lock and key, so to speak. So, but apart from that, when you realise they were out through injury and illness, I believe it was, there was no real great surprises. I thought maybe Beaton coming in after his like keeping his position after the game at Livingston, but it's like we were discussing in the chat. Ange isn't gone for a strong start in 11. It's a strong squad, and whoever seems to come in, there's no major drop off, John.
No, I mean, as you say, I saw something earlier the day actually, and it was a first 11 of players who didn't kick a ball yesterday, and you're still looking at that team and you're saying that's a really strong side. I think one of the things that's different this year than the previous season is that we have that level of depth now, and so when these changes come in, we're no sitting thinking or we're not overly worried about the team that's being put out. Or for me anyway, I'm no overly concerned because I know we can rely on these guys and I know they can come in and do a job in various positions. I think one of the things, the biggest miss was the fact that there was no, like Jota and Abada weren't even on the bench. Now I don't know whether they just gave him Ange just giving them a complete rest, or if maybe there was something. I'm not sure if you have heard any different. If maybe it was something in training, maybe they had a wee niggle and just he wasn't want to risk anything. But Jota's no been hitting the same sort of heights as he was earlier in the season, so that may also have been a factor into omitting him for the squad. Ross, what was your thoughts when the initial team sheet was released?
Much like Franny, I think Abada was sick. I'm sure I heard that somewhere. I can't mind where though, but I think he was sick. As regards Jota, I'm not sure, but I like Franny. It's sort of pleasing in the sense that Jota and Abada obviously weren't in the squad. Nobody had cracked a light beforehand. Nobody knew anything about it, and it's happened a couple of times. Giacomakis, a couple of games ago or whenever it was, he was sick, and nobody knew he wasn't going to be part of the squad or anything like that. So there's no leaks, if you like, and it's taken away from people thinking they're in the know and saying this guy's got to be playing or that guy's got to be playing. But as regards the starting lineup, I enjoy doing our wee bit on the podcast where we have to try and guess the lineup, but there's just no point. You're not going to second guess him because he's got so many sort of options at his disposal that I've said it before. He's not got a best 11. He's got a squad, and he uses the squad to its full potential. He uses not every single player, but he uses almost all of them and rotates it because of the way we play. And again, obviously, injury, sickness, whatever, is sort of pushed that last night as well. But I dare say he would have still made some changes anyway. But I wasn't disappointed when I seen the lineup. I was, like I always am, okay, that's not the team that I thought he was going to pick, but it'll still be good enough, or should still be good enough to win the game. And again, it was proved that they were.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's just testament to the fact that again, going back to the level of depth we have, we know we can rotate players now. If you were to be if we were in a similar situation, let's say last season, and you seen we had maybe 4 who would otherwise maybe be first team players out, be it by injury or for whatever reason, and the guys that were coming in to replace them, we didn't have any confidence in them. We didn't have any faith that they were going to be able to. Nobody was performing at all last season. But it's night and day when you see the team now. And again, it's testament to Ange and his recruitment and the guys that he's bringing in, obviously being able to play multiple different positions. Like we saw Maeda playing on the left, which I believe, Francis, I think you pointed this out yesterday as well, was where he primarily played when he was in Japan, and he looked great on that side.
Well, a lot of YouTube clubs, so John, I'm no a Japan daily.
That's not what you said in the group chat, you liar.
Might have had a performance, an inside source. Anthony coming in, magnificent performance last night. Tannadice away, Chelsea in a very tough game, but controlled it start to finish despite United clearly being up for it. I would agree with that. I think United taking the game to us at certain points. We didn't make it easy for ourselves. Again, this passing back, Joe Hart tried to be a sweeper. I know he plays that kind of role, but there was a couple of times last night where he was a bit uncomfortable in some of his decision making in terms of his passing. Was a wee bit iffy for me. Everybody else in the chat as well, I just want to say hiya. James, Alistair, Martin, Peter, William, Anthony, Stephen, who's popped in, Ian McIntosh, Martin K, everybody, thanks for joining us.
Guessing Jed's enjoying Tenerife too much then.
Is he away, is he? Right, so there'll be no Jed. But no, I mean, like, just going back to that point that Anthony made there about how difficult Tannadice can be for us on occasion. Like I said, we scored an early goal, which obviously helped settle some nerves. And I think for the first half anyway, we're certainly in control. We certainly dominated possession, and we didn't look like Dundee United didn't look too much of a threat. But the second half was a little bit of a different story. Obviously, Dundee United pressed us a little bit more. And when they were attacking us, they looked up for it. Obviously, we defended well. I think Starfelt had an incredible game. Vickers solid as usual. Hart didn't really have much to do, but again, we'll touch on obviously these pass backs and his decision making. Francis, just what did you think of the game? Just sort of briefly, first the comparison between the first and the second half.
For me, John, I think maybe just Dundee United had a spell in the second half, maybe 10 minutes up until we got that goal. Then I think we controlled the game after that. Like the first half was almost reminiscent of the previous game at Tannadice in the league, where we were absolutely frightening for the full game. I mean, we were really good. I thought for the majority of the game yesterday, Dundee United had that wee spell, 5-10 minute spell in the second half, I thought, but nothing that really threatened Joe Hart. The team just seemed to carry on for the Livingston game, the break. I say a break, it was 8 days. It felt like a break. It seems to have sort of not rejuvenated, but just gave them enough sort of recovery time instead of it being match, recovery, match again. And I think Ange's probably loved this wee mini break, so to speak, to work on things in training and stuff. We'll be able to work on more stuff. But I thought it was a really assured performance. Nearly a perfect performance, but it's getting to Livingston, and the game last night is more like what we've seen when we came back for the winter break. Obviously, we had a wee run of games. We still managed to win them apart for the Hibs, but we drew that game. We weren't really maybe putting in the best performance, but picking up results. So I thought it was a really, really good performance with many pluses. Maeda, like William said, I thought Maeda was really, really good yesterday, very direct and stuff.
Very good, yeah.
And Callum McGregor, I thought he was absolutely frightening last night. But no, I thought it was another positive performance, John.
No, absolutely. I would agree with all the points you made there, Ross. Just coming, a couple of people here have chipped in as well, and have said that the pitch looked terrible and it was difficult for it looked like the pitch was difficult for them to play on. It didn't look so bad to me. But Ross, do you think that maybe had an effect on the second half performance, or do you think it had, or did it factor in at all?
Personally, I thought the pitch was a Cofield. Thought it was. I thought it was really poor. It was covered in baubles. There was patches. It wasn't lush, full grass. But I mean, it can happen at this stage of the season. In the winters we go through or whatever as well. But I didn't think it was the best pitch. But in the game itself, I thought we started maybe slightly nervy. No nervy. I think that's the wrong word. We started a bit unsure, and I think it was credit to Dundee United because they pressed us high and they came out the traps a lot quicker than I expected. I thought they'd kind of maybe sat off and just to try to feel their way into the game, but they didn't do that, and credit to them. And it let Starfelt have a couple of the hairy moments in the first half that he got away with. And the one that it looked like he bundled McNulty over in the box, there was nothing in that. He hardly touched him. He was looking for it instead of trying to get in and goal, which he should have done. And he expected more contact, didn't get it. But I thought after that we started to feel our way into the game, took control as we always do. Cal McGregor in the middle of the park was absolutely immense. And then we got our goal, and it just kind of settled things down a bit. But it wasn't overly cohesive in the first half. In the second half, I think he was right to take Hatate off at half time. But I think it was Rogic he brought on, and for me,
Rogic, yeah.
I think that first 10-15 minutes of the second half, we sort of struggled. Dundee United were winning the midfield battle for me, and getting a bit of joy without really affecting us in the final third. And I think a lot of that's credit to Starfelt and Carter Vickers, especially Starfelt, who in the whole second half, I thought he mopped up everything that came into the box. I thought he was immense the second half. But then again, once that initial burst for Dundee United, if you like, and then Rogic and O'Reilly and that started to feel their way in again, we took control, we got the goal, and it was sort of, without sounding disrespectful, it was easy street for the final 20 minutes, and we were well worthy of the win over the piece.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with most of the stuff you said there, Ross. I think that when you mentioned, though, that the first half seemed to be, or was a little bit more shaky for us, I tend to disagree with that myself, because I thought the first half we looked, well, for the majority of the first half, we looked far more likely to score, and we seemed to control the ball a lot better. I agree with what you said about Hatate, but the change to bring Rogic on, this is another talking point that we've had as well on this podcast and in our group chat, about playing O'Reilly and Rogic at the same time. Francis, obviously, Ange made that change at half time, and at the beginning of the second half, it didn't look like again that it was going to work. What was your thoughts on the change?
I'll agree that I think the change had to happen because, like, Hatate's challenge was a booking all day long. There was nothing more, nothing less. It wasn't a red card that some made out like they're trying to punt the narrative that it was a dangerous tackle. Even some of the commentators were saying it was a bit dangerous, but I just felt, considering the referee, considering the challenge that it did get booked for, I thought it was just one challenge away for a red card, and I'm not too sure if that carries on to league games, so it was a sensible decision to take him off. But to bring Rogic on when you're only 1-0, we've seen it, just the Rogic-O'Reilly partnership just doesn't seem to work. It doesn't seem to give us the energy we need in the middle of the park. But we did get away with it yesterday, so it's one of the ones, John. But no, I'm not a fan, and it's actually funny you mentioned, obviously, Ross and William were talking in the group chat earlier about our best midfield three, if maybe thinking about the Rangers game and things like that. And it was just nice just to sit back and realise how good the squad was when you weren't arguing with it. You weren't actually arguing with William and Ross. You were just like, this is actually a decent debate. They're actually arguing about a decent midfield three, and both of them are nearly picking a different midfield three, and then the one thing we all could agree on was O'Reilly and Rogic. As long as that isn't a combination of the three, but it was a strange one considering it's happened. He's done it twice now, hasn't he? He played the Rogic and that's like obviously the first Bodo Glimt game he done it. I'm sure he's done a different game, but it's never worked in any of the games. So it was a strange one. Although I did agree with taking Hatate off.
Yeah, Ross, I would agree with that. Francis, Ross, I just want to come at you with the same sort of question though. I want to say, what is it? Do you think what is the reason specifically that you think Rogic and O'Reilly are they developing that partnership in the middle? Because on paper, you're looking at both these players. They've both had fantastic seasons, and you think having that kind of creativity in midfield, the sort of how good Rogic is with the ball at his feet and getting forward, and O'Reilly with his passing, and how creative they can be. What is it about that pairing that's not working, or why is it not working?
Well, I don't think it's anything sort of going forward. I think they're very similar types of player. I think they're both going to play the furthest forward in any midfield three. So when they're playing together, not that they're vying for that position, but I think that you probably get a bit more going back the way out of right or O'Reilly. But I just think they are really similar players, and I think you need that sort of, what's the word, that kind of balance in the midfield three, because it is only a three. And I mean, I dare say that they might, given time, they might start to work a bit better. And I have to say, actually, as much as I didn't when Rogic first came on, I don't think it worked, but they did sort of feel their way into the game a bit, and they started to get to grips with it in the middle of the park. But I just don't think that there's enough. It's hard to put my finger on it, to be honest with you, because it's only 2 or 3 games they've done it together. But on the face of it, when you look at it with other combinations that we've used, it's probably been the least effective. So whether it's not a working partnership or it's just less effective than the other ones remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, I like you mentioned something about the same player, and it seems that they're very similar, and it seems obviously a lot of people in the chat, Alistair, they make the same runs. Peter's come in, they're 2 similar player. Williams echoed that. It seems to be that the sort of general consensus is that Rogic and O'Reilly don't sort of fit that midfield pairing because they are too close to being the style of play is too similar, the way they move and etc. is too similar. But if again, just to come back on that, if you'd have said at the start of the season, if you could get another player in like Rogic in that centre midfield, or if you could have 2 Rogics playing on at the same time, for me, I'd take the hand off you for it. But now that you've got it, and again, when you look at the other options that we've got, we're seeing that it's maybe not the best idea, and that pairing obviously doesn't work. So again, it comes back to this whole thing about we're in a very fortunate position at the minute this season because of the depth we've got. We could sit here and talk for another 30 minutes to an hour about who we think the best midfield pairing is, who the best 3 is, and we could all have different. We might a lot of us might hear the same sort of. We might agree, but a lot of us may hear other. Like you mentioned about the chat earlier. There was like good discussion about who the best pairing would be, especially and the fact that we're talking about who the best pairing is. Just period. It's who's the best new, depending on who we're playing against.
Aye, I was just going to say that. Aye,
and matchups, and that's something I think last year, even coming into this season, that we didn't think we'd be in a position where we could actually say we've got the level of options. And I think it. What's that, Franny?
They're playing the fixture. You're playing the fixture a wee bit now with the
aye.
I think one of the things that we've been guilty, and this is not a slight on any of the managers or anything we've had previously. Lennon's biggest problem was it was the same guys all the time. There was no change. Everything was stale. Changes were like for like. There was nothing. And I know Ange's done something similar position, but these players can play all these different kind of roles, and the way they sort of overlap each other and the way they move and the way Ange plays football is a hell of a lot different than what it was under Lennon.
And by the way, I think that, sorry, John, I think that
you're right.
earlier in the season that Ange probably was on occasion accused of not playing the fixture, like Franny says, but I think it was a lot down to what options he had available. He had millions of injuries. He didn't have the squad that he's got now.
Exactly.
But now, with the players he's got at his disposal, he's playing the fixture every single game.
Aye.
So, although with hindsight, probably accusing him of not playing the fixture was harsh, with hindsight.
Aye. And again, it makes us sound a lot more privileged than we normally are, because you're going back and you're looking at, we're being critical now when we've got all these options available to us now, and we didn't have that before. And normally we would, if you'd have said at the start of the season we're going to have a settled first 11 and then a couple of players that could come in, they would be like, right, we'll take it, because we knew the size of the job at hand, we knew the rebuild was going to be massive, and with new manager coming in, etc., you need time to adjust. So I think we'd all have been happy with that. But obviously, such as the sort of the leaps and bounds that the teams came on, the changes that Ange's made and the signings that he's made, and the level of depth that we've got, and the way that players can rotate and play, like you've got guys who can play through the middle, through on the left or the right, and you can alternate guys. It just shows how many options Ange's got. And like you say, now that we've no succumbed to so many injuries, we're starting to see Ange sort of play the fixture a bit more. He's making changes to sort of deal with certain teams and the way that they set up. I think that when it doesn't happen, we as fans, because we're spoiled, we can be critical, and it's quite a funny position when you consider where we were last year. A couple of things as well I wanted to touch on was sort of standout performances. Now, I think for me, let me just read a couple of these comments as well, because they're talking about the O'Reilly and Rogic situation. I do like O'Reilly, no shy with the dirty work, great vision, great passing. I would agree with that, Ian. Again, I think, and on paper, you think him and Rogic would be fucking dynamite in midfield together. There's nothing to say why that pairing wouldn't work.
So sometimes you can have a wee bit too much flair. It's like if you had a team with 10, 11 misses in it, they're probably not going to win every game. Know what I mean? Yeah. You need that balance. Oh, it'd be nice, but you need that balance. But
I agree.
With PSG, but
no, the Messi now.
Like he says, that it's a very similar position as when Lampard and Slippy obviously played for England. The pairing just didn't work for whatever reason. Martin's come in. He's happy to see Karamoko getting a run out. He's definitely a talented lad. We've been fans of him since he broke through, and we've been wanting to see Merriam, Martin, and I'm hoping that that's still the case the rest of the season. Ian's come in as well. They said Lennon and Lambert couldn't play in the same team. They could and did. And again, that just shows you, like, they were kind of similar players as well, and it's a very valid point, because there's nothing to say that Rogic and O'Reilly can't work, or maybe can't in future. Is it something that you can maybe hope? You're hoping that these two can maybe click and find something where can play off one another, and how that can sort of manifest itself. Franny, just briefly, as I said, I was wanting to move on to sort of standout performances for me. So I'll come to you first. For me, but Starfelt, again, seems to be silencing a lot of these doubters. If you listen back to earlier podcasts, I advocated for him, and I always says that he deserved getting a chance, and it would come good. I believe that there was a solid defender in there. I'd heard nothing but good things about him prior to him coming, and it's good to sort of see that come to fruition as well, because we've needed it. And I know he makes silly mistakes sometimes, and it can look a bit shaky at times, but I think overall, for the course of this season, he's been pretty solid. And Maeda on the left looks frightening, and I think we a Maeda and Kyogo partnership on the left and Kyogo through the middle could absolutely tip. Like, I think it would have guys up all night dreading it, because the pace and the sort of the ability that they've got to get in behind a man is something we've been missing. And I think that now that we've got these guys who are capable of doing it, and we've not had a chance to see them play together yet, but I think that could be a fascinating pairing as well. What was your opinion on who was a couple of standout players for you yesterday, Francis?
Cal McGregor, I thought was my man of the match for me. I just thought he was like it's a standard that's. I'm in Cambridge, mate. I'm in Cambridge. Cal McGregor was for me a level above everybody in that part last night. I just thought he played the absolute perfect number 6 role, just dictated play. Can't disagree with Starfelt. I thought, like Ross said, started with his wee shaky moments, but grew out in the game, and then just he seems a wee bit old school in the sense that he just loves defending. He sometimes tries to get too tight, but I think when it comes to sort of his one-on-one duels, he really loses a header in the air and stuff like that. Similar to Carter Vickers. I thought Taylor was good again yesterday. Like, just never stopped running, just kept on going. Maeda, boy was ridiculous again last night. Decision making wasn't the best sometimes his first touch on it, but the guy maybe is just settling in. It was just one of them. I'm not going to be too negative on the guy with a bad touch and thing. I thought he really did play really, really well in that. Like, down the left, he was good. And him and Kyogo, it's got to be, if you do play Kyogo through the middle and Maeda down the left, like, I know football's moved on a wee bit, but the one thing that's never changed is defenders didn't like running back the way towards their end goal, and they'll just be absolutely brilliant for that. But I thought there wasn't really anybody I thought that was poor, but yeah, standouts for me has to be Cal McGregor, Maeda and Starfelt are the three that really stuck out. Forrest was promising that he looked sharp again and was doing a lot, running the line, hitting the byline, taking his man on. But three guys that stood out for me were McGregor, Maeda and Starfelt.
Yep, I'd echo that. I want to touch on a point you made there just before we come to Ross about Maeda's first touch. And Maeda's maybe not hit the ground running in the way we've expected him to. I think it's fair to say that.
Well, me personally, it's probably based on Kyogo, but which is unfair.
It is unfair, and I'm going to elaborate on that point as well, because for me, I think that, I mean, if we're right in saying that Maeda doesn't actually play through the middle, right, and he is merely a left-sided attacker, then that's one thing to consider, because he's been asked to come in and play through the middle. The way Celtic have been playing a lot of football this season, we're running the back line and we're getting swinging balls into a box. He's not the biggest guy, and he's not a target man. He's not like a Giacomakis, who you'd love to have in that kind of position when the cross balls come in. So he's not getting the delivery that he sort of needs. He looks like he's one of these players that plays off his man and then he can drop the shoulder, he can get by them, getting behind the defence. But he's not getting fed the ball, I guess, in the way that he would normally be used to. And like you mentioned as well, it's a period of adjustment. So I think we can see that how good he is, and the stuff he does off the ball as well, drawing defenders away and getting in behind it. I mean, he is caught offside a lot of the time, but again, it just shows you how eager and quick he is to sort of make those runs. It's just unfortunate that he's not getting the delivery. But Ross, sorry, I just wanted to. You can add to that as well if you want. But, Ross, what about yourself? Who was standout for yourself yesterday?
Well, I think obviously Franny's touched on Cal McGregor. He was outstanding. Captain's performance again. He's doing it week in, week out. Now, he's whatever midfield three you pick, Cal McGregor's going to be in it if he's fit. That's it, plain and simple. And it's whatever other two is going to be suited, and it's whether he'll play in the 6 or the 8, depending on who the other two are. But there's not enough superlatives for Cal McGregor now. The way he conducts himself off the park, on the park, the way he looks after the team, the way he captains it, he's absolutely outstanding, and he's probably certainly the best midfielder in Scotland for me by some way. Best player, quite possibly. But touching on Maeda, I thought he had a brilliant game last night. Again, sort of, I was just going to say, a team player. That's what I was going to say. He is a team player. The stuff that the work rate he puts in for the team can't go unnoticed. And his first touch, his final decision making at times is no there, but it'll come. But his work rate is outstanding, and for me, he's better on the left. I think that he's been used through the middle more than Ange probably would have liked to have. But with Giakoumakis, well, he's had a run of games, but he's obviously been out and he likes to rotate it and stuff. I think he's been deployed through the middle a lot more because of Kyogo's injury. If Kyogo had been here, he'd have been going between Kyogo and Giakoumakis, and it would have been Maeda and Jota on the left. But he's been put through the middle a lot more, which is probably took away from his game slightly. I think it's evident that he's better facing up players than he is picking the ball up. He's back to goal. It takes away from his game. He running it, guys. But I thought he had a brilliant game. What's that? First name caller.
Brown Warrior, first name caller.
Welcome along, Brown Warrior.
Appreciate that.
But he was outstanding. He affected the game, and even I think it was in the first half. He tracked back and the ball, he like blocked it or something, and it went out for a throw. And you could see Ange was applauding him. He just appreciated like his work rate and getting back.
Yes,
but see, I mean, not only Maeda, by the way, that every single player in that team is honest as the day is long, man. That's the first thing that Ange wants is work rate, and every one of them give that. They're giving everything for Ange in the shirt now.
Absolutely.
That can't be questioned, and it's amazing off the back of what we watched last year with guys not giving a shit. But I thought, again, he's touched on Starfelt. I thought, I've briefly said it, I thought in the second half, every single ball that came into the box was dealt with by him. He won his headers. Everything that came in there, everything that came along the ground, he was there to clear it, mop it up. Like his passing was pretty good. He's improving all the time.
Yeah.
He doesn't look as composed and as calm as Carter Vickers, but I mean, there's no many day. He's just class. He just strolls it. He just strolls it. Who else? I thought Forrest. He done all right. He still know the Forrest the old, but you can see I'm just gradually getting that bit more fitness, that bit more sharper. You can see he just looks more confident even when he's running. Not even when he's got the ball. He's a bit more of a spring in his step. And he came off last night. You're the worry, as he maybe got a niggle again. You'd said yourself, John, in the chat, he was limping or whatever. But when he's coming down the touchline, he gives the thumbs up. I don't know if it was appreciation to the fans or just to let them know that I'm all right, Ken, don't worry about it or whatever. But the whole team played well. Giakoumakis, you've just got to give him a special mention again. That's 9 goals for Celtic and 9 one-touch finishes. Absolutely outstanding. He's a nuisance. He's strong.
Is that an official stat, Ross? The one-touch finishes.
I think it is.
The only one I can question is, like, see the scissor kick type one. I think it was his second one against Dundee. I'm not too sure if he controlled that then shot, but that's the only one I'd be dubious about.
Well, I seen something online today and it said it was 9 one-touch finishes. So
I quite believe that, mate. I quite believe that.
Well, just Alistair's come in here as well and just says there, obviously 9, but Maeda and GG, they're just for 15 goals between them. Which,
and that's pretty much since Christmas. Well,
for the time of the year,
exactly. So, I mean, since Kyogo got injured. Anything else you want to add to that, Ross?
Just basically that he's a nuisance and he's a presence and he holds the ball up. He just occupies defenders all the time, and then the minute the ball comes into the box, he goes for that big nuisance, that like presence that looks a bit unruly at times. To like boom, he's there front post in front of his man like he's a wee Kyogo. And he gets his all round game. I absolutely think he's absolutely brilliant. And for the turn of the year, I don't think he's really put a foot wrong. I have to say, in the first half, there was a couple of things never came off from him, but it doesn't matter. He keeps going. He believes in himself. He's so confident, and he just keeps going, and he believes that the goal will come. And more often than not, it does. And you can't. I've not got a bad word to say about the guy, to be perfectly honest with you.
I think we're now seeing why he was the top goal scorer in the Dutch league. It's
right.
Just always gets in positions, like you said. Sometimes things weren't coming off him, but he still got in there. Similar to what Maeda does. He maybe has a bad touch, but he still goes looking for the ball. They're always looking for it.
Nobody in that Celtic team hides. And by the way, I would also like to say that once again, Greg Taylor had a tremendous game. He's up and down. He's up and down that line. He's inside. Aye, I know you don't like him, John, but
listen, he had a solid game. I'm not going to deny it. He had a great game.
And listen, of memory, right? I think the only time for the turn of the year that I can remember Greg Taylor having a game where you would say he didn't have a good game was probably I'm sure it was the home leg against Bodo, and that brings to fruition as that level for Europe, but that's up for discussion. But as regards domestically, and Ange trusts him, Ange likes him. He's 7 out of 10 every week, and he was brilliant last night. He's got a tremendous engine on him, and right now Greg Taylor's who we have, and for me, he's first choice for that left back berth.
Yep.
I know Juranovic came in and all that, and he's done well over there, but I still think for me, Greg Taylor's. I really like the guy. I think he's the man. Fuck it.
Listen, I've said it numerous times, and you're right in touching on it. And again, I don't want to dwell too much on the whole Taylor thing because we've discussed this at length. But you're right. Domestically, he's solid. He's a 7 out of 10 domestically, and you can rely on him to put your work rate in. We know that. But he's no. When you look at other, like when you're playing against higher level opposition, even a Conference League, he struggled. I mean, I did not need disrespect to Bodo, obviously, because they're a top side and they proved that. But when you're playing up against these other sort of European teams, he does tend to struggle. And as I said before, I think that domestically he's solid and you can rely on him. And I can't fault the boy's heart and his work rate because it's superb. I still think his final ball's shocking. And I still think that in terms of European level, he's no at that level yet, and we should be looking for better. But
let me ask you this: is he any worse a player than Anthony Ralston?
Is he any worse a player than Anthony Ralston?
Or is Anthony Ralston any better a player than him? Whatever way you want to look at it.
Again, I think domestically they're probably solid on par. I don't think Ralston's the best player at European level either.
Aye, but some people are saying Ralston, like, if he hadn't come out of teams, could be player of the year this year. But Greg Taylor's
possibly
pish.
I think Ralston overall he's had a better season than Taylor overall. He's contributed. He's scored goals as well.
He's got more assists and goals, but in the sense of playing that position, I don't think there's any in between them.
I certainly wouldn't put Ralston at left back.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I stopped drinking Friday.
Just want to move on as well, because again, we're missing some of these comments and some of them are cracking. Kevin's come in and says, what's your thoughts on a 4-3-1-2 with Jota at 10, Maeda and Kyogo up top, pulling defences all over the place? That is frightening. And I think Williams echoed that as well. Front three, Jota, Maeda and Kyogo is scary. And I would 100% agree. Can you imagine like the pace and the like I said, that would give teams nightmares.
I don't see Ange going away for the 4-3-3, but that's nothing. Obviously, that front three works on the 4-3-3.
Aye, Jota on the right.
Aye, is this in somebody
left?
The 4-2-1-3 or whatever? I don't know. I feel like it's always got to be the 4-3-3 type thing.
Aye,
I
agree with that.
Absolutely. But I mean, it's still quite a.
It's options, isn't it?
And again, it's teams and managers and defences looking at that front three once Keel goes back, and then looking at them and going, "This is going to be an absolute nightmare." They'll run them ragged.
Aye, and again, it goes back to the options that we've got because you look at it there: Jota on the right, Maeda on the left, Kyogo through the middle, frightening. Then you could go Jota on the left, Abada on the right, Kyogo through the middle. Then you could go Forrest on the left, Abad on the right, Giacomakis through the middle. Then you could go. Like there's so many combinations.
You could go.
Aye,
I mean, that just again, it just shows the level of depth that we've got.
Aye, so many combinations, and every one of them would scare the life out of 99% of all Scottish teams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm speaking for experience. I played. Well, obviously, I never played at a professional level, but I played as a defender, and a defender's worst nightmare is players with pace.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how good they are with the ball at their feet or their technical ability. If they're quick enough to knock a ball by you, that's it. And I know you can just tell that Kyogo, Maeda, and Jota will terrorise defenders. Kevin in 4-3-1-2, great plan B. We know Hans doesn't like plan Bs. It's plan A or plan A2.
Plan A better.
Aye. Ian McIntosh again, professional work rate now is great to see. I would agree with that, Ian. I think it's been fantastic.
What happens when you've got players that want to be there, but
100%. And I mean, I think it's clear to see that they're loving the football we're playing at the minute as well. And I don't think, and like you said, that they're working, they're playing for not just the fans, but they're playing for the manager as well. They're doing everything he's asking them. Lanky again, we're all talking about having a fully fit squad soon. I've got different setups, but the thing is, it's a hard decision for Ange. Absolutely. Again, Lanky, it comes back to this whole the level of depth we've got and the options that you have in there. It's just, again, you come back to the start of this season or the end of last season. Did you think we'd be in this position? I certainly didn't.
No. Well, I mean, I have to say, I was a bit more optimistic than most. I did believe all summer that no matter how late the manager came in, I did believe that we could still challenge for the title and rebuild. Not to the level we have, absolutely not to the level we have, but I still believe that going into this season that we should be setting our sights on winning the league. Some people were saying the season of transition will take a cup or whatever. Celtic's primary thing every single year is league title at worst.
Oh no, I totally agree with that. It's just sometimes, it's just maybe being pessimistic and that, just maybe just try to look at the bigger picture. But no, I totally agree. You always should be looking to win the league. I just think, for me anyway,
100%. I think what I'm referring to mainly is
probably just looking at it in isolation, so to speak.
Aye, and I mean, if you compare it to, obviously, we knew coming to the back of last season how dreadful it was for us, and all the turnaround. No manager coming in, a manager coming in late who we'd never heard of, but I think a lot of us were critical. You had changes at the back room, Law stepping down, the new guy coming in, then him leaving. There was a lot of things happening behind the scenes as well, and coming into the season, you'd 9 for your first 11 or something, round about that, out the door. And you knew about the turnaround. So again, I think when I'm saying, when you look at it, when it came to the start of the season, did you think we would be in this position? Because and Ross, I love your optimism, and to turn around and say that we should be challenging. I mean, of course we should be challenging for a league every season, a cup every season. I don't think that's under any doubt, and we should have went into this season regardless of what happened, ready to fight to win the title back. Absolutely, but I think the position that we're in is far further on than where I probably thought we would be.
Absolutely,
is what I'm saying, and I mean, it's testament to the signings we've made and the work rate of the guys in the team, because they're as I said, they're playing for the manager, they're playing for the team, and they're buying into this whole Ange Ball ethos, and they're doing what they need to do, and we're unrelenting at times against teams. It's just unfortunate that we're not scoring the kind of goals compared to the amount of chances we're having. I might come in. Browns will come in and say Stafford gives me the fear, boys. Sorry, but it doesn't look like a 4 million signing to me. I think he's still got time, but you can see with each passing game. Again, we've touched on it. He's getting better and better, and he's solid. I think he's showing that there's a player there for me.
He's vastly improved for the start of the season. There is still hairy moments. He still gets too tight, but for where he was at the start of the season to where he is now, he's improved vastly, and I think testament to that is he's part of the meanest defence in Scottish football by some distance.
Aye. Brown again, talking about Giakoumakis, top scorer on a side that was relegated. How often is that the case? 9-1 touches, but Giakoumakis was also robbed of 4 other goals by Maida and Turnbull. He puts in a good shift and still only played around 12 other minutes. I mean, these again, it just shows Giakoumakis, I think, is going to be a player for us. I don't think there's no doubt about it. The difficulty is when Kyogo's back and at full fitness. Whatever the issue is between Joe, I mean, it's Ange's the headache he's going to have picking the first 11. But again, it's playing for the fixture. Coming up against a Livingston, you want a Giakoumakis in because of the way they defend, they don't leave themselves any gaps or anything like that. So it's not going to really suit a Kyogo through the middle or a Maida on the left or anything like that. Well, we don't know. We've not seen that pairing yet, but you know what I mean. I'm loving that, by the way. Thanks for all the interaction in the chat, boys.
That's
I'm
good,
loving
man.
it. I'm trying to keep up with everything as well as obviously discussing other stuff. Next time we look at Collier Taylor talk when he comes off the pitch. It's no green and white. If you want a proper left back, then it's Taylor. If you want a wing back, then Scales or Dura. I mean, I would agree with that to an extent. He is a battler.
Yeah,
I'm assuming this is talking
big,
again. This is how far behind we are.
I think you lost a lot of Juranovic at left back. I think it's Taylor or Scales. It's no Juranovic at left back for me.
I don't. For me, it's no Taylor or Scales. It's Taylor. I think Taylor's
for
a better
me,
player.
it's Taylor, to be honest, and I'm not Taylor's biggest fan.
No, I know.
No, I know, but this is. I mean, we've said. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but we've said that I think that Taylor is solid for domestic level, but we should be looking for better. He wouldn't have been the team if fans didn't trust him. Again, I'm assuming we're talking about Taylor. This is how far behind in the comments I am. You better come in advantage, and I apologise for that. Ralston links up superb with others. Taylor fits in the way you see that. Again, talking about formations, 4-1-3-2 is a 4-3-3. Depends how you look at it, Kevin.
That does.
It's you could it really
4-3-1-2 without the ball.
But I mean, it's a valid point. There you go. And used to play a 3-5-2 and a 4-3-3 at Yokohama, so he has changed it up. There we go. He is capable of doing it. Jota is comfortable on the right. Brown, I would agree with that. So, these comments, man, I'm loving it. Taylor took a lot of stick.
I agree with that.
Good pro, in my opinion. I would agree with that. He does. I mean, he gets a lot of stick, and for me, sometimes it's warranted. But again, we're not dwelling on it. Taylor is Ross's love child.
Guilty.
Sorry, John Lake, but what the fuck is actually up with Kyogo? Hammy? I think it was a hamstring injury. Joe, welcome in, by the way.
By the way, is he back in training? Did I hear that somewhere today?
I've read on Twitter that he was back sprinting at Linux time. I've not actually seen any videos of that.
Aye.
I've not seen it.
Back in the grass.
Back in the grass, son.
But I'm hoping he's coming to the end of whatever it was that was plaguing him, because it'd be good to get him back. Kevin, the squad is exciting. Summer's only going to make it better. I absolutely agree. Brown's coming in. Julian pulling Superman poses in training and not even making the bench is getting a bit cringy. I think his time will come. I mean, we know Julian's solid, and the appearance, but we've seen him since he came back from injury. He never put a foot wrong for me. He looked solid. The difficulty is you don't want to break up, and we've spoken about this numerous times. You don't want to break up this pairing at the minute, especially at this stage of the season, given how critical it is. But I mean, if you're like, if he's on the bench and you're up 3-0 against a team,
no reason.
Get some minutes in his legs.
He wasn't even in the squad last night, was he?
I think he was on the bench.
I think he was on the bench. Maybe somebody can clarify that, but I'm sure he was.
Definitely wasn't in the squad for Livy.
So I think he tore a
maybe that's what it was.
Anthony, best team in the world. End of story. Thanks for listening to my TED talk. That was well worth the admission fee, Anthony. Thank you. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but welcome. I don't know what that means.
Filmmaker Cisse.
I'll get Stephen. Stephen, do you want
to? Get Stephen to say that.
Stephen, come in. Clouter, if Julian was chocolate, he'd eat himself.
So would I if I was Julian looking like that, man. He's well tidy.
Stephen, stop standing there. It's just so going to your head. Stephen, what are you on about, mate? I think you need to put the drink down.
Can you bring his comment up?
I didn't even. I brought it up before I seen it. A lot of people saying I never said at the start of the season it would be a year of no trophies. And wait, I never thought at the start of the season it would be a Euro trophy. I don't think many of us did, Davey. I think that we were still confident that at some level we would compete, and we'd expect us to. Like I said earlier on, I don't think any of us came into this season expecting it to be a failure, and we were winning nothing. That was like, you want to put last season on the back burner and move forward. But I think what the point we were making was, or at least that I was trying to make, was coming into this season, based on how bad last season was and based on the amount of personnel changes that we went through and everything else that was happening in the back room, that you would be, if somebody says we'd be top of the league, we'd have a League Cup, we'd be getting into a semi-final, and would be, what, 7 or 6 league games, 7 league games away for a treble, I would have been all at it. Absolutely. Aye, sorry, I just want to catch up with these comments. I mean, absolutely trailing because everybody's commenting, and I'm loving it. And you'll have the keys to the Ferrari. 6 months ahead, I thought we would be. I would agree, Alistair. That's what the point I'm trying to make. Again, I'm sorry if I'm missing any comments as well, boys. I'm sorry. Like I'm saying, but I'm loving the involvement. Thanks for everybody getting involved. I'm just going to bring up. I can't comment on everything. There's far too many at the minute. But I just want to just quickly, just before we move on, because I mean we're 50 minutes deep and we've not even touched on the draw yet. The goals. we've touched on Giakoumakis got 2 goals. Calmack's goal was a peach. I think we should be doing more. What McGregor done is looking for that space and then taking a shot on sight when you've got the space. I don't think we do enough of that at the minute. And it proved that it can work. And Giakoumakis, he got in the end of those 2 goals. I think they were a wee bit favourable in some of the touches that came off. But listen, you'll take it. It's 2 goals. It's 2 goals. What was your thoughts on the goals initially, Francis?
Well, you say the first one, obviously, Cal McGregor. It's a nice wee shot corner, one pass into McGregor's touch and shoot. It's nice to see us not necessarily try to tap ins with 20 passes and cutbacks and that. There's all different ways of scoring the perfect goal, and I know it was a deflection, but you could class that as the perfect goal from a set piece. It was a shot corner, one pass later, it's in the goal. Then Giakoumakis' first goal, Maeda, who I said that sometimes his first touch is questionable. If you actually see the replay for it, his touch to then start on the run is absolutely brilliant. He just kills it and takes it straight into his stride, and that then cross isn't actually the worst, to be fair, but Segrest fumbles it. Giakoumakis is there like any good striker. He's in the right position at the right time, knocks it in. Then the third goal, were cruising the game, not looking like we're going to lose, and Karamoko Dembele's been very, very aggressive in his attack. He's been running forward, then just shoots, takes a deflection. Giakoumakis has been credited with the goal. I've yet to see a decent replay of it where he gets a touch on it, but again,
I think he did, and only just he only just managed to get a touch on it. But again,
he's there again to cause a nuisance. He was there to put people off, and it's kind of just what you want your striker to be, just in amongst the thicket, and just it was 3 good goals. Like Giakoumakis' 2 goals were messy, but they're good goals if you kind of break them up in how you look at them. They can be seen as messy goals, but when you think about it, he's in the right position both times to get enough touch on it. Aye, exactly. Absolutely. I'll take him scoring another. Every goal being messy doesn't matter. It's a goal.
Exactly. And I think that's the most important thing. Like he says, there were proper kind of poachers goals in that he was in the right place at the right time, and he just needed to get a touch on it, a tap on it. Doesn't matter how favourable it was or the kind of deflections it took, it hit the back of the net at the end of the day, and that's all that matters. Correct. Ross, are you the sort of same?
Aye, pretty much. I mean, they weren't the prettiest of goals, any of them, but you can't be pretty all the time. McGregor's one, I get what you're saying. You'd like to see the players taking early shots more often, because you see it gets the deflection. It can go anywhere. It goes in the bottom corner. It gets us off and running. I think at times Jota has tried to take shots from outside the box, but recent times they've been fucking wild. You know what I mean? But I mean, I think we do at times try to take shots, but we do tend to get the ball wide a lot, so you've not always got that opportunity. But I think I seen a stat the other week as well, by the way. I don't think we've got that many guys that are great for hitting shots from outside the box. And I seen a stat the other week. I think it was might have been the Hibs or the Livingston game, and it was something like at that point of the game when the start came up, I think Celtic had 29 direct free kicks in the league this season and scored none. They've not scored a direct free kick yet, so that tells you all you need to know, which is maybe a bit why they don't take as many shots as you would like. I mean, Ryan Christie was doing it last year and it was fucking flying everywhere. Know what I mean? So it's all right if you're getting it on target or getting it in the area, sort of thing. But if they're going flying, it's a waste of time. But the Giacomakis 2 goals, again, poachers goals, just not the prettiest, but they all count, and it's a cup tie, so it doesn't matter how you get into the goals as long as you win the cup tie, and that's basically what happened last night. And I don't know if you're going to touch on it, by the way, you maybe are, but the goal that was it Maeda that scored it? Aye. For me, that's a goal all day long.
I would have said so.
You brought up the rules in the group chat. It was a
but then we're getting into discussions about referees, and
we don't want to do that.
I don't, because I'll end up.
Well, let's not.
But I mean, I agree with you. It should have stood. Beaton's an arsehole. End of story. We'll leave it at that.
He got the Hatate one spot on, though, you have to say, for me. The sending off. Aye, he gave him a yellow card. It was nothing more than a yellow card for me. I mean, he started. You could telegraph it a mile away what Hatate was doing. Yeah. He was going to win a big tackle, and he's ran for a distance. But he does like dive in, but like halfway through the action, he sort of realises I'm getting nowhere near this, and you can see him starting to like draw his leg up a bit to pull out it. And I think for me, if his leg stays straight and he goes right into it and commits fully, then it's a red card. But he pulls out it. There's minimal, if any, contact. It was nothing more than a yellow card, and he got that one spot on.
No, absolutely. I think that some of the there's me talking about the referees. I don't really want to get into it too much, but I think some of the decisions are questionable. They have been for us for the majority of the season, as far as I'm concerned. I think something should be done about it, but nothing will be. I'm not confident that the Celtic board will actually stand out and say something needs to be done about the level of refereeing in Scotland, because it's absolute shite, plain and simple. But aye, Ross, at the end of the day, going back to the goals we scored, as you said, it doesn't matter how you score them, it's scoring them that matters. It was a cup tie, we won 3-0 through the semis, and then immediately after the game was the Scottish Cup semi-final draw. Now, somebody said an interesting statistic, which I didn't, it baffled me that this is the first time that there's been a Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs at this stage of the cup. And that just seems mental that's never happened before.
Again, it was Anthony that said it.
Aye, but I think they echoed that on the telly as well afterwards, because I was like, "Is that can't be right? Surely no." But then, I mean, as it turns out, it is, and so the draw was coming up. I think Maestairs were I was hoping for Rangers. I mean, I think we were all praying for that game to happen. And I mean, you could have. I did call it. I'm not saying that it was. The SFA are corrupt as they come, but I don't think they would have rigged that.
Weighted balls.
Weighted balls.
I mean, Michael Stewart seemed to end the draw before it happened.
What's that?
Michael Stewart said the draw before it happened.
Aye, he did, aye.
I think Maestairs could see it coming.
He didn't say, I think this is a draw. He said, this is a draw.
Aye, I know.
No, it's... Oh, he did say this is a draw, didn't he? Aye, I remember that. And then, because they asked him about it, and he was like, "Oh, hey." It was just, it was another one. So, the draw's been made. It's us against them. Another derby game. We'll obviously touch on that in a lot more detail as and when it comes. But what was your initial thoughts when the draw was being made? Were you hoping to get them, or were you hoping that maybe they go Hearts, who would knock them out?
I don't know. This semi-final are a wee bit bottom merchants anyway, regardless who they get in the semi-finals. But it was one of the ones where I foot sounding. I don't know how, but like if they're going to beat you, you would rather they beat you in the semi-final and the final, if that makes sense. So if we do it, like I'm not bothered who we got in the draw, because the way we are playing now, like 30 games after last night, undefeated domestically, so it shouldn't matter who we got in that draw last night. We shouldn't be worried about who we get it. But it's one of the ones where, the same token, if we're going to go out to them, but as well as you're better getting beat before the final, I think. But I'm totally for it, especially the fact that it could be 3 derby games in April, because we've also got the one in a couple of weeks, then the Scottish Cup semi-final, and you'll likely, after the split, the game will probably be pretty early, because depending on if we win at Ibrox, obviously puts it to minimum 6 points, or well, can put it to about 6 points. It might delay the last derby game, but they tend to find that they didn't really like them being league deciders, so to speak, even though if we were 6 points and one would go 9 points, mathematically it's not over, but it's pretty much over. So potentially 3 derby games in April, which is nice to look forward to, John. Maybe. Could be absolutely horrendous if you lost all 3.
Aye, I mean,
You.
I
I'll be
don't
that.
it's not worth thinking about. What about you, Ross? When the draw was made, what was your thoughts? Was that the draw you were hoping for?
I wasn't hoping for anything really. We draw who we draw. It's one of 3 teams. We got Rangers. Dare say that on paper, if we didn't get them in the semi-final and we made it to the final, then the likelihood is we play them in the final. I think at this stage of the season, both teams are going pretty well. I think Celtic are going slightly better than Rangers. I'm confident now playing them at any point with the team that we have and the way we're playing. That's not to say you'll definitely win the game, but at this stage of the Cup, you take whoever. You're in the semi-final. You've got 2 games. Celtic are probably the best team in Scotland right now. You would have to say. I don't think many can argue with that, the way we're playing. So you're confident going into every game, and just I would have took whoever. Doesn't bother me. We'll hate to play them at some point.
No, absolutely. And funnily enough, we play them just prior at Ibrox, and what could ultimately be the league decider. I think Joe touched on it earlier on as well. Sorry, Joe. Just said we'll say it was the league decider. Any way to answer that question for Joe?
I think if we
vital
win
for that game.
I think if we win, like you said, John, it's pretty much game's a bogey. Like, I think 6 points with what will be 5 games left. I think it's the last game before the split in it. So the way we're playing, I would not expect a 7-point turnaround with 5 games to play. I agree that I think Giakoumakis is vital, just the way he played in the previous game. It goes back to that playing the fixture. I would probably play him in the remaining derby games, Giakoumakis. But I don't. If we come out of that game still 3 points ahead, I think it's all. I'd be more than confident we'll then go on to win the league. If they pull it back to the equal points, it's maybe puts a wee bit. I don't know if it'll put a wee bit of doubts, but it gives them more belief. I think if we can come out of that either equal or obviously increase the points advantage, it puts us in a really, really favourable position.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously solely based on the fact that like between now and the end of the season, that game being the only one where either side can drop points.
For me, I would answer that after the weekend's games, because if we get a win against Ross County, they hate to go to Dundee. They hate to go to Dundee and win. I'd love it if we beat them. I'd love it.
Kevin Keegan.
I think that. Yeah, go on.
It depends. I was just going to say it depends. If both take maximum points in their next games, then going into the game at Ibrox, if it's still a 3-point lead and we win at Ibrox, for me, we don't relinquish a 6-point lead with what is it, 5 games to go.
5 games, okay.
Aye, I mean it would be the worst possible scenario for that to happen.
Aye.
I agree. So Joe, I answer your question. I'm in agreement with the boys as well. Winning that game, even, and here's a valid point as well. Alistair coming in. Worst case, we're top on goal difference if we lose.
Aye.
As long as we're not drawing any other points, we can afford to lose that game.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we don't drop any other points the rest of the season.
For me,
and
Ange won't go into that game thinking.
No, absolutely.
I mean, it's.
I play for
go and play the way you've been playing. Go to Ibrox and win. You're more than capable of doing it. And by the way, that's no disrespect to Rangers, because on the other hand, like, Rangers are more than capable if they turn in a performance that they've turned in Europe, like say against Borussia Dortmund. But I'll tell you one thing: if they defend, like I watched the game last Thursday, if they defend the way they defended against Red Star, Celtic will cut them to shreds, because Red Star were millimetres boot widths away for scoring. Oh, there you go. For scoring 3 at Ibrox. So if they defend like that, Celtic will cut them to shreds at the back.
Aye, absolutely. I mean, we showed that in the last derby game. Rangers they were obviously in a position where the Rangers won't play against us like any other team in the league this season. That's fact. They're going to come at us because they want to win.
Well, they need to win.
100%. They need. Well, exactly. They need to win, so they need to open up. They need to come at us. That themselves leaves them exposed at the back. And given the way we play football, that plays into our hands. That plays into our favour. Our biggest concern going into that game is, can we maintain the levels defensively and shut them out? Because I don't doubt for 1 second we're going to create numerous chances if they open up, and we'll score. I mean, I don't have any concerns in that either. But again, it all comes down to whether or no defensively they're putting the shift in and we manage to hold them out, because we've seen on occasion all it takes is if they get an early goal, they could shut up shop, and that's what worries me. But I think that the derby game is going to be paramount in deciding who potentially wins the league. Although, like I say, or like you mentioned earlier, goal difference still plays a factor. And as long as we don't, if for worst case scenario we lose against Rangers, you're still tap on goal difference, and
they've still to come to us.
Aye, exactly, and you're still in a strong position. So pressure is on them. Pressure's on them big time, as Kevin says. Ian's come in. Ange will fancy beating Sevco on their own patch. I 100% agree. Davies come in. We could theoretically still lose 2 games as long as we beat them once in the league with 11 goal advantage. Beat them at Ibrox, and it's practically over for them. I would agree. I mean, I think if we beat them, it's done. It's over.
Aye, I think so. If we go to Ibrox and win, that's it. It's just we just need to win 2 games for the treble. Well, that's not true, because we need to win the remaining games in the league. But you can what I mean, eh?
Assuming that those are.
I just talked a lot of shite. We'll see you later.
I think
I know what you mean. Semi-final and a final away for a treble.
Aye.
Yeah, Ian there echoing exactly what we're saying. If they go for it, it's going to play right into our hands. It'll work in our favour, and you'll definitely go there to beat them. We scored first, the place will turn nasty very quickly. We scored twice. They'll turn on their own, score free, and the pitch will get invaded.
Can't wait to see it.
Joe 4, and it's George Square Monument battles.
Benchies welcome.
Benchies welcome. Obviously, but the first step into winning the league obviously comes this weekend. Another game, a tough game against Ross County, who again all these teams. I mean, on paper you think we should walk out of these teams, but we've seen in the past that's not the case. They always come and they defend well against us. They set themselves up well, and every team we've played this season has done the exact same thing. They're going to try their best to shut us out, and they'll be happy with a draw. So 3 points this weekend is absolutely paramount for me. I mean, we need to be putting all these games away now, and hopefully doing it comfortably. I don't like you says 1-0 wins give me the fear, because or leaving it late, I'll have a heart attack if that keeps up before the end of this year. But just come to yourself, Francis. Like as we always do, prior to a game coming up, what do you think the lineup's going to be?
Well,
Because even though we've already established that at this point it's pointless, what's your reckoning? And in the chat as well, if he's right, what do you think? Who's going to be the starting lineup?
Joe Hart, I think the back four will stay with Juranovic, Carter Vickers, Starfelt and Taylor. The midfield three, I think he'll, being at Parkhead, he'll probably stick with, I think he'll bring a Rogic in for O'Reilly, maybe swap them about, and then obviously with McGregor and Hatate in there, then I think he might keep the front three the same. Just simple. I don't know where Abada and Jota or where, obviously, whether it be illness or injury. I don't see the need to be rushed. We don't need to be rushing anybody back. So the only real change I would make is maybe Rogic for O'Reilly. Just it seems to be he's rotating them now, not because I thought O'Reilly was bad last night. It just seems to be one or two get rotated.
Is that?
That's I can 40 sometimes, but that's 11 players, mate.
Fair enough. What about you, Ross?
I'm going
same as Franny.
I've got to be boring as fuck, but it pretty much is. I think the back four picks itself to an extent, especially at home. I think Juranovic will play before Ralston. I think if it had been up at Dingwall, Ralston probably would have started the game, but Hart and goals obviously, and I think I agree with Franny. I think Rogic will probably come in for O'Reilly. You could maybe make a case. Hatate, for me, sometimes he's looking tired, but I don't think it's a game. You could bring Beaton in, but I think he'll go with Hatate, McGregor and Rogic, and then I think just purely because I don't know the situation with Jota, Abada, I think he'll go with Maeda, Giacomakis and Forrest on the right.
Aye, I would agree with that. I mean, I think it's going to be a very similar. I'm as boring as it is. I think it's going to be the same. I can't see too many changes. But I think rather than I'd probably start Rogic and rather than O'Reilly play Beaton. Kevin's come in. Hart, Juranovic, CCV, Taylor. He's missing Starfelt. I'm assuming he means Starfelt. Taylor, Beaton, Kalmak, O'Reilly, Maeda, Giacomakis, Abada. And there he goes. He's mentioned Starfelt. Brown's come in. I'd like to see Julian get some game time. I'm feeling I'll be needing a run in. We mentioned it earlier, Brown. I think that starting him isn't the best option at the minute. But if you get build up a lead and you're cruising, then certainly bringing them on and getting minutes in him is going to benefit us.
It needs to be. You need to be up 3-0 before you change that pairing, though.
Can I take any risks? I agree with that.
No, at this stage.
David Boy, he thinks Beaton and Abada in for Riley and O'Forrest. O'Reilly. Riley and O'Forrest. O'Reilly and Forrest. Scott coming in with the hail Scott, welcome in. Kevin, if it's this hard for us to pick a team, imagine playing against us. Absolutely agree.
Aye, nobody kens what starting 11 they're going to be facing.
Aye, exactly.
Getting the opposition.
Yep. David comes in as well. If James does have a niggle, Ange might not risk playing him in case he aggravates it further. Then Dembele could be a shout. I feel like in fact, I would go Dembele ahead of Abada if that's the case. Personally, I feel like Dembele's got a lot to offer us, and I think he can show it if he's given try and give him a full 90 in that position just to see how he does.
The thing is, I understand what you're saying, but for me, it's similar to Julian. You just can't risk it at this stage.
I think it's
similar to an extent.
Mhm.
Defensively, though, you need your defence as solid as it can be.
No, I get that. I appreciate it's totally different positions in the park and stuff, but I just think where we're at, what we're aiming to get to the now, and we're like how close we are to that. We can't be taking too many risks.
Mm-hmm.
I think if
not to start the game, I think sorry, Franny.
I was going to say I think you might see he'll get more than 15 minutes if we're cruising. We might get even 30 minutes.
Like last night. If we're comfortable in the game, I think he'll come on and get minutes in his legs. But I think at this stage of the season, for guys like Julian and Dembele, it's just about getting minutes in their legs and just contributing. A bit like what do you call McCarthy as well? Just contributing like cameos. No starting games.
Sure. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from, but unlike sort of McCarthy and Julian, Karamoko's still getting minutes. He's had plenty of minutes, and he's just come back from injury, but he's been playing in the reserve side, so and he's scoring goals as well, and he's creating chances. He's playing, which is I think is the main thing. So he's not in a similar position in that he's shaking off roster. He's not like Julian is, because he's been out for a year and a half, and he's played 20 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
So bringing him in is a real risk, because you don't know how he's going to pair up with. I'm assuming it would be Carter Vickers, and it's a risk. Whereas on the right, if you start Dembele and things on the gone right, you can still swap him out for an Abada or a Forest, and you're still giving yourself plenty of chances to win a match.
I would tend to bring him in for an Abada or a Forest, though. But I mean, totally, it's all about opinions, isn't it? That's why we're here.
Kevin reckons if Dembele does start, it's dangling a carrot to get him signed. It may well be, Kev. Honestly, I'd like.
Shouldn't need a carrot?
No, he shouldn't. And if he doesn't want to be here, then he won't be playing, because Ange just said it.
But he obviously does, or he wouldn't be featuring just off the back of an injury.
Exactly. Ian's come in. Hope Karamoko stays in to see what Ange can do with him. I fully agree, Ian. Absolutely.
Yep.
We are back three and start Julian. Brown's come in there. Complete curveball.
Oh, no. Stick with type they know. Stick to the formation that we've deployed. Then all the players are on board with it now. They totally get it. Every one of them know their jobs. You know what to start tinkering with formations at the business end of the season when we're trying to win a league title, in my opinion.
And then Alistair, he reckons Ange doesn't fancy Big Julian. I think that's harsh.
Ange just like Moss said, it's just that stage of the season. He's came back for a big injury. The defence is solid. Why change it?
You can't risk it. Absolutely. Why change it?
He's a £7 million player, but it's one
Don't fix something that isn't broke. Regardless
precisely.
if he's 7 million, 7,500, 20 million. It's no broke. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, 100%. Martin, need to try and stop youngsters in development squad leaving for other clubs if possible. If you're able to retain them, Martin, I absolutely think we should. We should be doing our best to try and retain them. I think there's a lot of positives in keeping young guys at the club rather than losing them. I know some of the boys in the podcast don't really care. And if they don't, but I firmly agree. Listen, if they're tempted to go elsewhere and they don't want to stay here and fight for their place, then that's on them as well. Like, don't go then. But I'd like us to try and do our best.
It's difficult for Celtic. Like, you're talking about Doak, right? Going to Liverpool, like.
Is that probably no good? Is that actually? Is that?
Oh, it's looking like it's got to happen. It's pretty much all but done, I think. But it's that way. Like, it's the bright lights. He's getting off. Seemingly, he's been offered 12 grand a week.
What?
Like, for me, he's not going to. I mean, don't quote me on that. I might be wrong there, but he's not going to get as many first team opportunities at Liverpool.
Absolutely,
as he would at Celtic, but he's going to Liverpool for better money, and probably he'll be playing a better standard of youth football than what he is now, playing with better players. So that might help his development. But by all accounts, he's a Celtic supporter. He wants to. He's made his debut for Celtic. For me, I'm only talking with conjecture here, but has he got the
There's
right
that
people
word.
round about him? I know. If that was my laddie, I'd be saying, look, just stay at Celtic. Look at Kieran Tierney. Like, by all accounts, Doak is the next big thing. I've not seen enough of him to say for definite, but Tierney, like, came up through the ranks, made his way into the team, became a regular, built up a name, and then went for big money. If Doak is as good as what people are saying, just do that. Do that way. But then there's pros and cons. You look at like young, what's the guy that went down to Chelsea for Rangers and then went to Norwich?
Oh, Gilmore.
Gilmore, aye. I was going to say Gemmell, I knew it wasn't right. But he's probably got good experience doing playing in the youth setup at Chelsea. So there's pros and cons, but in no way, shape or form for me is it Celtic's fault if he leaves. It's down to the player, it's down to the agent. Celtic can only offer him what, and you're not going to give him crazy money. That'll come. You need to work your way up and deserve to get them. He's not deserving of whatever money Liverpool are going to give him now, but they're just giving him it because they can. On the possibility that he might turn into a superstar.
No, which is never going to be the case. But I mean, what age is Oaks? Well, he's just turned 17
17.
16. But getting offered 12 grand a week, and he's not just going to any random club as well. I mean, he's going to a massive club in Liverpool, so it's not like he's going to some run of the mill championship shite. It's like 12 grand a week is hard for any size. You imagine being 16 and being offered 12 grand to go to Liverpool a week.
Aye, I know. But I mean, he'll go down to Liverpool and he's a million times further away from Liverpool's first team than what he is Celtic's.
Oh, absolutely.
So for me,
he's already played in Celtics.
I don't know. It's a funny one, but it's happening more and more. You see the guys a couple of years ago went to Bayern Munich for Celtic. Can't mind his name. That says it all, really. You know what I mean? Nobody knows who he is. He's forgot about his career's hit the skids.
Yeah. Islam Ferrouz.
Aye, that's another one. Aye.
Perfect example of why. And he turned his back on Celtic and Tommy Burns' mind. He chased the money. And look where his career went. Is he even playing football now?
It is one of them. It's
don't know
that age, and if you're getting offered that kind of money, it's hard.
That's where you need. That's where you need to have the right people round about you, family, friends. Do you know what I mean? Can you good advice for me if they were my laddies and Liverpool was coming offering, all right, you're looking at like
money on.
Yeah, you make the money or whatever, right? But if he has got the ability that they say he's got, then believe in yourself. Believe that you can go and get to that level when you deserve to be at that level and make your way in the game, ply your trade, like do your apprenticeship, if you like, to an extent, and try and break into the Celtic first team. And if you don't do that, then okay, with hindsight, you'd probably look at it and go, maybe I should have took the big money when I had the chance. But believe in yourself and go and do it.
I think there's a lot of ex-players that have left us and chased the money. And by the way, not just young guys that have probably regretted it. Because that saying, the grass isn't always greener, as they say. Anyway, we're nearly an hour and a half already, boys. So we'll start wrapping things up. But I just want to touch on it. Closest they'll get to Salah is being called La. At Liverpool, O'Reilly's only 21. He signed only for football reasons, no money. You get his rewards later.
Exactly.
I think O'Reilly's a perfect example.
That's the point I'm sort of trying to make.
Yep, Doka's making a mistake. He can progress to Celtic, then go as Ross Sadie, and I think that's spot on. Make a name for yourself here and do your best to fight for your place and get yourself into a team and make a name for yourself. And then Joe Griffiths will be cutting about with Feruz shortly. A waste. I don't know where Feruz is, and I don't really care. He made his bed. But listen, thank you. As I said, that's an hour and 25 minutes. Thanks to everybody that's tuned in again today. We appreciate the support and the constant. And I appreciate, I've not got through everybody's messages, and I apologise as we've missed any chat. And the chat's been really active, and I've loved it. It's been fantastic. Sorry, chatting to you guys.
You can't answer them all, John. It's like me and Valentine's Day. You just, you know what I mean?
Just need to skip some of them. But listen,
we'll get you next year.
We'll get you next year. But listen, again, Franny, Ross, thanks for coming on. As usual, outstanding contributors. Feedback's always appreciated.
I mean, you came away from a busy room down here in Cambridge, John, myself. So.
You're obviously, you've given up a cracking night out to be sitting here with us tonight. But no, listen, it's been fantastic. And again, everybody that's tuned in, that's listened in, that's stuck with us for the full hour, 20 odd minutes as well. Support's fantastic. We appreciate it. We say it every time we speak to you guys. We love it. Just fire through the last of these comments as much as I can. Normally, obviously, we'd sign off with Stevens, but I don't know how many times he said it. I still want to get it right.
Again, it's so hard.
I'm cheers, Kevin. By the way, I appreciate that. James as well. But it's. I'm not going to bother Mars try to steal his catchphrase or any of that crack. But I'll just leave it with this. Again, massive thanks. Make sure that we're live 8 p.m. every Tuesday and Friday. So subscribe if you've not already. Hit the subscribe button. And we'll catch you on Friday. Bye.